अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा गदामायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं हरिजनाः सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। जयतं शरतो पङ्गुर्मम मन्दामतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपादम्बोजो राधा मदनमोहनौ दिव्यात् बृन्दारण्यो कल्पद्रुमदः श्रीमद्रत्नागदौ सिंहासनौस्तौ श्रीमन्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ प्रस्थालीभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन् रासारसारम्भी शिवातस्ततः स्थितः कर्षन् वेणुर्सनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथ श्रीस्तनः काञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। न- नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्यानामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नास्तप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखारं तत्रापि संहितं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयम् Muraho Rasika Vivavaka. Oh, expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls, कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रि। त्वयि मे आनन्दविषया मतिर्मधुपति आसकृत् रतिम् उद्वहता ददा गङ्गे मौगमुदन्वतिः। O Lord of sweetness, Madhupate, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction, or Ratim, be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविघ्नविनाश नरसिंहैति नामिने मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं Yatkripatamaham vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Srimishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam session, right? So we're going to a new chapter, but before that, let's recap what we have done in chapter 17. So chapter 17, if you remember, this was entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. So we heard about the scene in which the cow and the bull, the cow as the mother earth in the form of the cow, and father religiosity or dharma in the form of a bull. So both of them were being abused by a personality who looked like a king, who was dressed like a king, but obviously he wasn't a king. He did not look like a king, although he was dressed like a king. And his activities were terrible. It was abusing these sacred animals. And therefore, in this scene, Parikshit Maharaj came across this scene, and then immediately he took action. He did not just allow, he did not tolerate such a situation. Uh, so devotees don't tolerate other injustice. They are willing to tolerate any injustice uh, against themselves, but they are not willing to tolerate any injustice against others. So that is the devotee. So that is the correct understanding of being more tolerant than a tree. So, but sometimes we see otherwise. But anyway, this is the standard laid by the Srimad Bhagavatam, by personalities, Maha Bhagavats like Parikshit Maharaj. So then the crime scene was set, the situation of the crime scene. And then Maharaj Parikshit immediately challenges this personality, who was none other than personality of Kali himself. And he challenges him and arrests him. And then but he doesn't just straight away administers judgment. He investigates. So this is the point about intelligent kings. They don't act rashly, right? There is a saying: the blind, the foolish rush in where the wise fear to tread. So before we do anything, one should investigate. But it doesn't mean that while investigation is going on, the perpetrators can continue doing adharma. So what did Parikshit Maharaj do? Immediately he arrested the situation, and then holding them arrested, he investigated. He inquired from Dharma, the personality of religion, the bull, what is the cause of the problem. Although Parikshit Maharaj saw this with his own eyes, but still he went to get confirmation. And then we heard about the wonderful conversation that took place between the bull and the cow. So after hearing the words of Dharma, Maharaj Parikshit understood perfectly. He said that, yes, now I know that you are not an ordinary personality simply because of the words that you spoke. So Prabhupada says, a fool is undiscovered so long as he keeps silent. In a village, if there is a fool present, he cannot be discovered so long as he keeps silent. So, but the moment he opens his mouth to speak, one can immediately know, this person is a fool. So in the same way, uh, the personality of religion was immediately, just by hearing Dharma speak, Parikshit Maharaj, a very intelligent person, could immediately understand that this Dharma is not an ordinary personality. So that is, and then immediately what he said, uh, Parikshit Maharaj, uh, he knew what to do, and he got his conclusions, and he straight away turned towards personality of Kali, and then he wanted to kill him. He took out his sword, he addressed the personality of Kali, you who have dared to do such an act in this kingdom, right? So there is no place for adharma, for those who are friends of adharma bandhus. Bandhu means friend, adharma means irreligiosity. So there is no place in the kingdom of Maharaj Parikshit for those who abuse religiosity, who are friends to irreligion. So he immediately, unhesitatingly, he took his sword and he could kill such a person. Parikshit Maharaj was very, very powerful personality. Although this is the personality of Kali itself, So Kali immediately noted this. He knew that his life is in danger. And what he did, he immediately surrendered. He surrendered and he laid down his arms and prayed towards Parikshit Maharaj, I, I please give me mercy. So in this way, Parikshit Maharaj was stopped from killing the personality of Kali. So we talked about this at length, why Parikshit Maharaj stopped from killing Kali. So this is some of the points we covered previously. So it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, those who are worthy of being sung. You know, in history, we have many heroes. So anybody who's a hero, who gets the name hero, that person is worthy of being sung and talked about and glorified, right? So therefore, the term is used slokaya. Anyone where poetry or words which are written or sung in praise of that person, slokaya, one who is worthy of being sung, such a hero. How do we recognize such a hero? One of the points are, it said that such a hero is always merciful, kripa. He is always kripa. He shows kripa. He's merciful. Merciful to who? Merciful to those who surrender to for his protection, who plead for his protection, who surrender to him. That means completely at his mercy, willing to do whatever he says. So to such a person who is surrendered, right? Mercy ought to be given. That is the chivalry of the Kshatriyas, the Kshatriya code of honor, and that has to be accepted. And at the same time, it could also be reversed psychology. The Acharyas explain that at the same time, saranya, should only be done to the slokaya. One should not simply surrender to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. One should surrender to one who is worthy, or in other words, one who is slokaya, one who is worthy of being sung by scripture. So that is a person or one who is sung by great personalities. So that is the understanding. And then, but at the same time, although one shows mercy, mercy cannot come at the cost or at the compromise of dharma, right? So dharma or religiosity has to be upheld. It cannot come at the cost of kripa. Mercy is there. So that's why even when uh, Drona's son Ashwatthama, when Ashwatthama killed the 5 children of Draupadi, Krishna didn't want to show mercy. Krishna said, immediately kill that person. He has committed such a heinous crime. He should not be allowed to live. But still, what I said just now, the devotees are very, very tolerant when it comes to any kind of injustice to themselves. So Draupadi, even though she was initially very angry and very upset, right? But after she saw Ashwatthama, the son of their guru, the son of their guru, Dronacharya, they all had great love and affection for Dronacharya. And when they saw the son of Dronacharya come in bound in robes, immediately her heart melted. And she immediately forgave him also. But still, Krishna was not satisfied. So anyway, therefore, he was still required to administer correct judgment. So anyway, because Dronacharya was a Brahmana, although Ashwatthama wasn't a Brahmana, but because he was born from a Brahmana, so therefore they couldn't by right kill him also. And anyway, they couldn't kill him also because he is Chiranjeevi. He's not supposed to die. He will live until the end of the yuga. So in that way, he was banished. So kripa or mercy cannot be compromised for the sake of the dharma cannot be compromised for the sake of kripa. Then what's the solution? So then he has surrendered, but at the same time, I cannot just let him go. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj is a wonderful king, a very saintly Raja Rishi. So he said, yes, a Nara Deva, a king, you have dressed like a king. So a king cannot be a Dharma Bandhu. So I cannot allow one who is a leader or an administrator to behave in such a way, to behave in an irreligious way. One cannot allow this to go on. So that's important instructions for all of us. So in society, in everything, one wants to be a leader, one has to uphold certain morality, certain dharmic rules. One cannot just, so therefore, if somebody is found lacking, then one should step down and they should elect another leader. So Naradeva cannot be Adharma Bandhu. So then what's the solution? So Adharma Bandhu must not be allowed to remain. So since he has asked for mercy, cannot be killed, but at the same time, he cannot remain. So what to do? So therefore, banishment. Immediately banish. You cannot remain in a place where there is Dharma Sangha. So in a society where people are trying to be righteous, where righteousness is the main policy, if we allow anybody who is Adharma Bandhu, irreligious person, it will spoil the whole thing. So just like a drop, they say a bad apple gives the whole barrel a bad name, right? So therefore, it can corrupt the whole thing. You cannot allow any impurity inside a society. So that has to be removed, addressed immediately. That's the job of the Kshatriyas, the leaders or the administrators. They need to be vigilant because they need to protect. That's their main thing. They need to protect Brahmana. They need to protect women, children, Brahmanas, the cows, right? And most importantly, these why protect all these things? Because they represent dharma, religiosity. So that's the main thing. So therefore, they cannot be left alone. So he was banished. So that was the punishment of Kali. Kali was banished. So we heard about this. But Kali, but where was he? But Kali couldn't go anywhere, right? So he was banished, and at the same time, Parikshit Maharaj was also a king. So king is Praja, one who gives protection to all Praja, all living entities. So especially one who has surrendered. So when this Kali has surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj, so Parikshit Maharaj is bound to give him a place to stay. So he cannot remain in Sadhu Sangha, but he can remain in places where there is no Sadhu Sangha, Asat Sangha. So therefore, he designated certain places for Kali to stay. So that was the reward of Kali. So Kali was allocated where? In the Adharma Sthanam, in the four types of Adharma Sthanam. Irreligiosity, the places where irreligiosity lives. So where does irreligiosity live? So it was very clearly described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Wherever there is deceit and gambling, because when there is gambling and there is deceit, there irreligiosity will thrive because it destroys the pillar of Satyam, truthfulness. That's the first sthanam. Second sthanam was wherever there is uh, wherever there is intoxication. So where there is pride, overwhelming pride, right? In Tamil they say Timaru or Ahankar, right? So in where there is overwhelming pride and Ahankar, so in such places, and especially where there is, and also where there is intoxication, drinking, drugs. So in such places, irreligiosity can thrive. That's the second sthanam. The third sthanam is wherever there is killing, merciless killing, where there is killing of those who are weaker, who cannot protect themselves, who are in, especially the animals. So these are to be protected. They are weaker than us. They do not have voices to speak. So such creatures, if they are killed in such places where they are killed just simply for the sake of tasting the flesh, just to satisfy the senses, they are killed, right? So that is another adharmasthanam. And finally, where there is impurities, especially in illicit activities. So illicit activities or illicit sexual activities. So in such places, adharmasthanam will proliferate. So that is the places. But Kali Yuga, although he found these places, Parikshit Maharaj gave these places for him. But Kali was thinking, but come on, there is, although you gave me these four places, there is nowhere in your kingdom where these four places exist. And you are Maharaja of the entire world. So where is there I can go and live where you have, everywhere you have removed such places? So therefore, Kali further entreated on Parikshit Maharaj. So then Parikshit Maharaj said, all right, very well. So then I will give you one more sthanam, Pancha sthanam. So this sthanam is where wherever gold is hoarded. So where you have gold, people hoard gold for their own whatever reasons, greed and whatever. So in such places, you can live. Because surely where there is gold, these other four things will also creep inside. There will be meat eating, there will be intoxication, there will be illicit activity, there will be gambling and deceit. Because people don't know what to do with all the money. So they will think about sense gratification, therefore intoxication, and therefore meat eating. And they will also think about the frivolous activity. They have so much money, don't know what to do. So they begin gambling, right? So this kind of things happen. So we heard about all these things. And then, but we also heard after that how, although gold is designated as such a place where irreligiosity can thrive, but gold is double edged. So, gold can also be used in the hands of a Mahabhagavat. The same gold can be used to establish religiosity. So even though gold is where, hoarding of gold is where irreligiosity can thrive, the same gold can also be used for establishing religion. Just like money, isn't it? We can use, so it's like a double-edged sword. It can cut both ways. You can use the sword to defend against people, against adharma, but you can also use the sword to kill, to cause problem uh, to, to to attack people. So therefore, it's a double-edged thing. So it has to be used responsibly. How to use responsibly? We understood that Parikshit Maharaj established that precedent. He showed by his own personal example how he used this gold in order to re-establish the four legs of Dharma, the broken legs of the bull. He re-established them. So therefore, the point here is Brahminical guidance is required. One needs to have guidance in the use of wealth. It's not that, oh, I've got all this wealth, I can do whatever I want with it. No. One has to follow based on guidance of usually the Kshatriyas, those who are very, very wealthy, the Kshatriyas, they will have Brahmanas to guide them how to properly channel this wealth. It's basically used in the service of the Lord. So wealth is meant, remember, we talked about this at some length also. Lakshmi is meant for the service of Krishna, right? If Lakshmi is forcibly taken away, then that is the mentality of Ravana. So what happens to Ravana? Eventually Lakshmi will leave him and he will be ruined. So that is the point. So we should use whatever wealth we have, we should use it. So anyway, that all we discussed previously already. Today, let's move on to chapter 18. So chapter 18, Maharaj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. So So it's an interesting picture here. I purposely put this picture just to. This chapter is an interesting chapter also, because there is, this kind of element where we will see how Maharaj Parikshit. We heard so much about Maharaj Parikshit, how he's such a Bhagavata, how is Vishnu Rata protected from Vishnu against Brahmastra. Lord Vishnu who lies on Adisesh, the king of all serpents, the lord of all serpents, and he is directly protecting Parikshit Maharaj against the Brahmastra itself. But now this Parikshit Maharaj will be cursed by a mere Brahmana boy to be killed, that too by a snake, and just a Takshaka snake. So how can that happen? First, so all this will be described in chapter 18, right? But before that, some preamble will be there, so we'll talk about that. This is part one, session 64. So it begins like this. Sutta Goswami is narrating these incidences to the sages of Naimisharanya. Sutta Uvacha Yo Vaidroni Ashtra Vipushto Namatur Udare Mritaha Anugrahad Bhagavataha Krishnasyadbhuta Karmanaha. Sutta Uvacha. Due to the Anugraha, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to the Anugraha of Krishnasya Adbhuta Karmanaha, that means due to the mercy, extraordinary mercy of Krishna, who is the performer of wonderful activities. Krishna Asya Adbhuta. Adbhuta means wondrous, wonderful, amazing. Karmana means activities. So Krishna is the performer of amazing activities. You know, we know some of the amazing activities Krishna does, right? He lifts the Govardhan hill, right? He dances on the head of the Kaliya serpent, correct? And so many other things. But here we will hear about another activity of the Supreme Lord, which is amazing. So, for example, he comes immediately into the womb of Uttara when Uttara is being threatened by the Brahmastra by Ashwatthama. And he came and he deflected and he saved Parikshit Maharaj. So that was an amazing activity also, right? So Maharaj Parikshit, though struck by Drauni Astra, Drauni means the son of Dronacharya. Astra, the weapon of the son of Dronacharya. Though Parikshit struck, now Parikshit was actually struck by the Brahmastra because the Brahmastra was a very special weapon. It's not that Krishna couldn't avoid it. Is Krishna doesn't, he always tries to act according to the promises that he gives. So one of the promises given was that the Brahmastra cannot be countered by anything else other than another Brahmastra. So it is an irresistible weapon. So therefore, the Brahmastra, though it struck Parikshit Maharaj, but at the same time, Parikshit Maharaj could not be burned. So he was protected by Vishnu Shakti. So therefore, he is known as Vishnu Ratha. He could not be burned. So therefore, Advaita Karma, one of the wondrous activities of the Lord, who could defeat Brahmastra just like that. Furthermore, Maharaj Parikshit was always Bhagavati Arpita. That was in the womb, but when he was born, he was heralded with wondrous qualities by the sages and the Brahmanas. And he was very carefully brought up by the Pandavas, Maharaj Yudhishthira, Arjuna, right? And in this way, he had very wondrous qualities. So, and the crowning jewel of his wondrous qualities was that he was a pure devotee of the Lord. He was Bhagavati Arpitasayaha. He was completely surrendered to the personality of Godhead in his mind and in his heart because he witnessed the situation of himself being saved in the womb by such a wonderful personality. In the womb itself, he fell in love with that personality who saved him. And he spent the rest of his life searching for that personality. So therefore, he is called Parikshit because Parikshit means examiner. He kept searching, searching, searching. Where is this wonderful personality? Where is that wonderful personality? So his entire life was dedicated towards searching for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the job of the devotees. That's what devotees do, right? We are always searching for Krishna. So our entire activities is meant towards attaining Krishna. So anyway, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit, such a personality, was therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear due to a snake bird which was to bite him. So here, Sutta Goswami did not give any details about the curse. He was talking about other matters. Suddenly, he's talking, bits and pieces about the curse, and he's doing this for a purpose. purposely just giving drops. He's purposely just dropping hints here and there about what happened to Parikshit Maharaj, just so that he wanted to create excitement and interest in the sages. He wanted the sages to ask, "What happened then? What happened then? Oh, you said like that? Why? Huh?" He wanted to create curiosity. So that's how the scriptures are written, because they wanted to excite the curiosity and the interest of the reader, so that the reader feels continuous enthusiasm and excitement as he's reading. So anyway, he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by fear. So because Maharaj Parikshit was such a surrendered devotee, that's the meaning of surrender. Surrender has several meanings. One of the symptoms of surrender given by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, it's also given in the scriptures. Surrender means one is not afraid. He's abhayam. He is completely, he accepts the Supreme Lord as his ultimate protector and well-wisher. No matter what happens, he always has the faith that the Lord is all, whatever that happens, it's for his benefit. Whatever that happens, it's for his good. He has very strong faith on that, even though things may look bad. So that is surrender. So he wasn't overwhelmed. And what's supposed to happen? He was supposed to be killed. He was supposed to be bitten by a snake bird. So this is a picture of a snake bird, Takshaka. It's a very scary creature. Imagine such a creature comes for you and about to bite you. So because of, and he says why also. Sutta Goswami explains, because of the fury of a Brahmana boy. So that would surely create a lot of curiosity in the sages who are listening to this story. A Brahmana boy? Just a mere boy, right? So, and why did he become so angry? So they would surely be thinking that way. So anyway, Prabhupada gives a point here on this point of surrender. A self-surrendered devotee of the Lord is called Narayana Parayana. Such a person, Narayana Parayana, means one who is always depending on Narayana. Such a person is never afraid of any place or person, not even of death. So, Abhayam, therefore, Abhaya Charanaravinda, Srila Prabhupada's name. So, he knew that Krishna had saved him in the womb. So, Parikshit knew, I was saved from the greatest danger in the entire universe. So, and if he were to be killed by a snake bite, so be it, let it be the Lord's will. It would also take place by the will of the Lord. So, if by the will of the Lord he is saved, by the will of the Lord also, he may die, because he understood that human birth means there is a beginning and there is an end. So, in the beginning of his life, he was saved, fine, but he was ready to accept to the will of the Lord, that the Lord can take him at any time that the Lord wills, because anyway, he owes his life to the Lord only. So anything sent by God is a blessing for the devotee. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. So, very important point here. Furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king, Parikshit Maharaj, surrendered himself as a Sishya to Vayasaki. So, he continues the narration. Sutta Goswami, what happened? Although being cursed, Parikshit Maharaj was cursed. So Sutta Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, although what happened after he was cursed, he straight away left all his kingly associates and he surrendered himself as a disciple, Sishya, taking instruction. Sishya means to take instruction, right? To become a disciple, to take instruction from who? From Vyasake, the son of Vyasadeva. Vyasakya is another name for Sutta Goswami. It means the son of Vyasadeva. And thus, he was able to understand the actual position of Ajita. Ajita is another name of the Supreme Lord, and it means the unconquerable. So he was able to actually understand the actual position of the unconquerable Lord, the infallible Lord, and at last gave up his material body. So see the what do you call the paradox here, the dichotomy, right? It's like opposite meaning. Ajita, Lord he worships is Ajita, unconquerable, infallible, never fails in his promise, never fails in his activities. But he gave up his material body. So this is to understand material body is nothing. So the jiva understands, one who is very well, one is a pure devotee of the Lord, a Uttama Mahabhagavat devotee like Parikshit Maharaj. Not only he is very devoted, he is very, very learned also. And he has full realization that the Lord, this material body is just a combination of matter, and he understands clearly Atma Tattva, that he is the soul, he is not this body. So therefore, the body in any way in this material world is meant for destruction. So what matters is he wasn't fearing, even though that, because he knew he was eternal, and the Lord, and he's basically going to go to the Lord. So therefore, he gave up his material body on the bank of the Ganges. Prabhupada gives comments. Unless one thoroughly understands, unless one thoroughly understands the superior or eternal energy of the Lord, right? The Antaranga Shakti. It is not possible, or the Parashakti, it is not possible to leave the material energy. So, important point, that's why Bhagavad Gita is given to us, so that we can understand thoroughly why understanding is important. Why understanding is important? Because without understanding, we will have only blind faith. And blind faith is very tottering. It is anishta. It is very, very shaky. Blind faith must change into realized faith. Then it becomes very strong. Then it becomes nishta. So therefore, the process of hearing, hearing, but at the same time, Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Kirtanam purifies our heart so that we can understand what we are hearing and we can relish what we are hearing, develop a taste for what we are hearing so that we can hear more and more, so that we will introspect, we will do smaranam, think how we can further improve, further increase our faith. So in this way, anishta becomes nishta. Our faith from shakable fear, it becomes shakable faith, it becomes very firm faith. So that's why Prabhupada says, unless one, and this faith is very, very necessary. This faith based on knowledge, based on realized understanding, right? It's very necessary. Unless one thoroughly understands the superior and or eternal energy of the Lord, it is not possible to leave the material energy. So no worries, no fear. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is up to the task, and fully Srimad Bhagavatam is there. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the textbook, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam is full of examples, case studies, which we can relate to based on the textbook of the Bhagavad Gita. So whatever that's in the Bhagavad Gita is fully described very nicely in the Srimad Bhagavatam, giving full examples, case studies, and different aspects of understanding the same points, so that we can develop our understanding very nicely. He was confident. Parikshit Maharaj was confident about his ultimate destination, and why he was confident, because what I mentioned just now. And by knowing this, he could leave aside. So by this knowledge and by this confidence, this faith that he had, so therefore he could leave aside everything material. So that's how we detach. We develop attachment for the higher taste by the practice of our devotional service. Automatically, we will lose taste for the material energy, anything which is material. But that will only happen we want to. So sometimes, we may have knowledge, but we may not want to let go. So the knowledge must translate into that, into the desire to want to let go. Because ultimately, Krishna gives us a choice. We make the choice. We must make the choice to let go in favor of the Parashakti. We must let go of the Bahiranga, the external energy, in order to accept the higher energy of the. So then, right, in Bhagavad Gita also, there is this verse, Param Dristva Nivartate, Prabhupada says, one can give up all connection with material attachment and one is able to see the Brahm or the superior quality of things when one comes to the level of higher devotional service. Vidya Vinasha Sampante, Brahmana Gavya Hastini. When one sees divinity in every living entity, when one sees that every living entity is a spark, is a living entity, is a soul, right? And they are all struggling with their karma, and they are all going through within the three modes of nature and acting according to their karma and their three modes of nature. So therefore, understanding this, one does not develop envy, one can completely give up envy, and one can completely give up, he learns to understand everything in perspective of the Lord. He sees the Lord in everything, he sees divinity in everything. This cannot be artificially imitated. It has to be realized based on the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Hearing, remembering, hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord by service. So this was so because those who have dedicated their lives to the Katha Amartyam of Uttama Shloka. So this verse now confirms what Prabhupada gave in the purport in the previous verse. How is it that Parikshit Maharaj could have this confidence to completely just surrender everything and give up everything? Because this is the answer given here, right? He was able to do this because those who have dedicated their lives to the Katha Amritam of Uttama Sloka. So this is the secret. It means this is the way we can develop surrender in our heart. This is the way we can develop higher taste in our heart. This is the way we can therefore develop detachment from matter. By attachment to Katha Amritam of Uttama Sloka. Well, who is Uttama Sloka? Uttama Sloka is that topmost personality who is sung and glorified in the Vedic scriptures. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is Katha Amridam? Amridam means the nectar of the pastimes and the hearing about him. Not only pastime, Katha doesn't mean only pastime, it also means philosophy, anything to do with regards to the Supreme Lord. So the Katha Amritam, the nectarian Katha, Krishna Katha of Uttama Sloka. So Uttama Sloka is Krishna. So that is the secret. By hearing about Krishna and his pastimes and his energies and the way he enacts the entire universe and what he does, so all this is Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam material and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So hearing all these things, in this way, one can come to this platform, just like how Parikshit Maharaj came to that platform. And who are constantly, so there are two things. One is hearing, right? And one who are constantly engaged in smaradam tat padam bhujam. So this hearing must eventually translate into remembrance. Smaranam means to remember. Remember what? Tat padam bhujam, the lotus feet of the ambuja. Ambuja means lotus, pada means feet of that person. Which person? Uttama Sloka. So such people do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the time of death. Antakali. Antakali means at the last moment of life. So this is the sure risk-free way. So that is the recommendation of the scriptures, recommendation of Suta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya. Oh, sages of Naimisharanya, I'm telling you the sure formula. The sure formula is therefore Harinam Sankirtan and Shravanam Kirtanam, the processes of bhakti, beginning with Shravanam and Srimad Bhagavatam Shravanam, particularly, and Kirtanam. So, this is a nice verse. So, we should try to remember this verse. Nottama sloka vartanam satam tad kathamritam jat sambhramo antakale api maratham tad padam bhujam. So Prabhupada comment, when the same is heard from an actual self-realized soul and is properly understood by service and submission, everything becomes transparently clear. So there's a way to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. It should be as far as possible, we should try to hear from the self-realized soul, right? So that's why we must take advantage of the presence of sadhus. They are very, very rare and they are very, very, uh, you know, It's an amazing fortune. So whenever sadhus, they come, we must go and see them. We must take the trouble to go and see them and hear from them. You may say, oh, the same Srimad Bhagavatam, the same Bhagavad Gita, the same things only they're going to say. No, the potency is different. Me speaking Bhagavatam and coming from the lips of pure devotees like gurus and Prabhupada and his disciples who have dedicated their lives in the service of the holy name of the Lord. Such people, if you hear them, they become very, very powerful. But at the same time, because if we are also repeating the same message as per given as the acharyas, even though we may not be very great, the same potency is also possible, right? Because we do not deviate from the conclusions of the acharyas. So that is our humble service which we are trying to do. So we are not great at all. We have oceans of bad qualities. But because we are trying to present the Srimad Bhagavatam according to the acharyas, the Vaishnava acharyas, the Vaishnava conclusions, as given by Srila Vyasadeva, as spoken by Sukadev Goswami and the acharyas coming in parampara. So therefore, even if there is any fault, Srimad Bhagavatam in the chapter 4, it says like that. Even if there is any fault, then it is still sublime. It is still very, very purifying. But at the same time, when it's spoken by a great personality, it's very powerful, right? But there is a condition. There is another condition. It is not only the speaker that matters, the audience also matters, right? So anyway, we'll come to that. That is a point. But Prabhupada continues, by scientific adaptation, one is able to remember the Lord even at the end of life, when the power of remembrance is lacking due to the derangement of bodily membranes. So this verse here, Antakale, even at the time of death, the time of death is the most difficult time in one's life. It is terrible trauma. And in such a situation, it's not easy to remember, it's not easy to control the mind. In a normal situation, it's not we can't control the mind. To try to meditate on the Lord in a normal, comfortable situation. But in such a situation, it becomes very difficult because of the uh, derangement of the bodily membranes. The vata, the pitta, the kapha, everything works towards choking our life air out of our body. So in such a situation, it becomes very difficult. So the exam is the passing of the death is the exam, they say. So that's why we need a lifetime of preparation. We need to prepare. We can't just say, I'll enjoy my life to the maximum. And then when the doctor tells me I only got 3 more years to live, that time I will go and do whatever I can. So, but the opportunities may not be there at that time. Our faculties may not be working properly at that time. So therefore, we should not waste human form of life. So then, so anyway, so this point now we have come to verse 4. So at this point, we see how this is basically a description about the glories of Maharaj Parikshit, how Parikshit Maharaj is such a great personality, how he is so surrendered, and how he attained that kind of surrender. So that is described from verses 1 to 4. Okay. So now we will move on. So Sutta Goswami continues his narration. As long as the great Mahan, so now he talks about Kali. As long as the great Mahan, that great personality, Parikshit Maharaj, right? As long as the great, powerful Mahan, Urvyam means powerful, Abhimanyavayaha, Abhimanyavaha, Abhimanyavaha means the son of Abhimanyu. So Parikshit Maharaj is the son of Abhimanyu. So as long as that great, powerful personality, Abhimanyu's son, Parikshit Maharaj, remains the emperor of the world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. Kalir na prabhavet. Cannot. Kali cannot flourish, right? So just like, they say, the Bengali verse is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakara. So when Krishna is like the sun, Krishna Surya Sama, So when there is sun, there is no possibility of darkness. Can there be darkness when the sun is blazing in front of you unobstructed? There cannot be darkness. So in the same way, when there is a pure devotee who is directly connected with the Supreme Lord, there is no possibility of darkness in the presence of such a pure devotee. So this, and Parikshit Maharaj was a very powerful devotee. His influence spread over the entire world. So there was no darkness, pockets of darkness anywhere. So Kali cannot prevail. So, but at the same time, Kali also has uh, he has his destiny also. This is part of the plan of providence because Kali Yuga must take its place. This is the material world. Material world must allow Kali Yuga also to have its chance. There will be degradation of this world. It must happen in this material world. So, how is this achieved? How will Kali achieve this? So, therefore, by the will of the Lord, by the will of destiny, the Lord arranges the matter in such a way that he allows Kali to come into the world because that is necessary, right? And at the same time, he, he Krishna is expert. He always does many things in one action. So although there is the how Kali is allowed to come in, but by the same act, he gives the very means of deliverance for everybody in this world. So in this way, he tricks the people of this world that yes, if you don't take to Srimad Bhagavatam, then you will be influenced by Kali. So we'll come to that verse. Okay. So the very day and moment Bhagavan Krishna left this earth, the personality of Kali who promotes all kinds of dharma came into this world. As I said, this material universe is subjected to degradation. Nothing lasts forever, right? There's no such thing that a good thing will last forever. Just like people are born, but they age, isn't it? When a metal, when we take iron is brand new from, right? But it rusts, corrosion takes place. So therefore, the yugas also go through corrosion, and this corrosion is Kali. So in Satya Yuga, the effects of corrosion was hardly felt. It was very new. And then in the Treta Yuga, the effects of corrosion was slightly felt. So the golden age became the silver age. But the effects of but Kali hasn't entered yet. He was just influencing the situation from externally. And then in Dwapara Yuga, because Lord Krishna was personally present, Kali couldn't come. But he could still influence. He could influence based on those who were willing to be influenced by Kali. So there were people who were willing to be influenced by Kali, so they became the instruments of Kali. But Kali hasn't come in yet, because so long as Krishna's lotus feet were present on earth, he couldn't come. But the moment Krishna left the earth, Kali thought, aha, this is my chance. So he stepped in. But when he stepped in, he came face to face with Parikshit Maharaj. So what to do? But still, but anyway, so this is the point here, right? Prabhupada says, although Krishna is not in this world, but Krishna is still in this world. Krishna is in this world for those who take to the what because Krishna comes in this Kali Yuga in his incarnation. He comes as Harinam. He comes as Nama Prabhu, the holy name. So therefore, if we take to the holy name, then that's as good as having Krishna directly with us, right? So to chant God's holy name means to associate directly with Him. So this is a very powerful statement given in the Science of Self-Realization. Prabhupada mentions to chant God's holy name. It's not ordinary. It means to directly associate with Him. Krishna's names are very powerful. They are potent. Just like when we are thirsty, Prabhupada gives this example. When we are thirsty, we say water, 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 water. If we keep chanting water, 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 will our thirst become quenched? No, we will only become more thirsty, right? But when we say Krishna, 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 it's opposite. Krishna, 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 Krishna. When we chant Krishna, 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 we will realize Krishna. We will attain Krishna. So that's the difference between Maya chanting and absolute chanting. That is, so Krishna's name is, the potency of Krishna's name is very, very different compared to other things. So Prabhupada says there is an arrangement for the constant chanting of the holy names, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no chance at all for the personality of Kali to enter into our lives. So that is the way in which we can vaccinate ourselves against Kali in Kali Yuga. So we can create pockets of light in the age of darkness. So just like, so that's the power and the potency. We can light candles to dispel the darkness. And chanting of the holy names of the Lord are like candles. The more faith we have in those light, in their chanting, the more powerful the candle will become until it blazes like the sun and dispels all darkness around. So, yeah, but that's not the only thing. Krishna is very merciful. He gives us another thing. So I put an arrow here. This is the devotee's house. In a devotee's house, he will have Srimad Bhagavatam. There, this is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada says, right, actually, this is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahamune, Kim Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune, Kim Vaparer Ishvaraha, Sadhyo Hridi Avarudyate, Atra Kritibihi, Sushrushribhi Stakshanat. So, this beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by Mahamuni. Who's the Mahamuni? Vyasadeva. In his maturity, this is his last work, his magnus opus, right? Is sufficient in itself for God realization. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also another, this is also an incarnation of Krishna, right? What is the need of any other scripture? This is wonderful, right? As soon as one attentively, here's the second condition. So, first condition is one must hear from a devotee. If one can hear from a pure devotee, that is the best thing. If one can hear from a Mahabhagavat pure devotee, that is the very, very best thing, right? So, but the other condition is, even if we hear from a Mahabhagavat devotee, if we are not attentive and if we do not hear with faith in a humble state of mind, then it will have no effect on us, or very, very minimal effect. I cannot say no effect, but very, very minimal. So therefore, in this verse, the same verse, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord Takshanat is very soon, the Supreme Lord is very soon established within his heart. So this is another way in which we can directly associate with the Lord by speaking or hearing the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam, who is none other than the Supreme Lord himself, right? And Sutta Goswami continues, Maharaj Parikshit now, he was a realist, like the bee, Saranga. So the bee is called Saranga. What does Saranga mean? Saranga means he is attracted by the nectar. He's attracted by the nectar. And Maharaj Parikshit, being a realist who is like a bee, attracted to nectar, who only accepts the essence. The bee is very expert. He can go to the flower and he can extract the essence of that flower. If it is honey, if there are places where they call monofloral honey. Usually bees in the forest, they go to different flowers, different species of flowers, and then they extract the nectar and they make honey. You can't really, the honey tastes very neutral. You can't taste the flavor of the flowers. But if you have monofloral honey, where only the bees are only allowed to go and take nectar from that type of flower only, you can actually taste the flavor of the flower. Like they have lavender honey, they have longan honey, they have eucalyptus honey, right? Or they have manuka honey. So they have other things, leatherwood honey. So this kind of honey, because the bees only extract the nectar from those flowers only, no other species of flowers they go to because it's a controlled environment. So then you can actually taste the flavor. So they're expert in extracting the essence of the flower. So Maharaj Parikshit was a realist like the bees who only accept the essence of the flower. So Maharaj Parikshit, therefore, and he knows whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed. So he knew perfectly that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately. So that's another wonderful thing about Kali. Kali is an ocean of bad qualities. It's like an ocean of bad qualities, but there are some good qualities in Kali. Actually, you could say there is only uh, yeah, three or four good qualities. The main thing is you have the easy, sublime process of chanting the holy names of the Lord to go back to the spiritual world. That's the easiest process which is given in Kali Yuga. But besides that, in Kali Yuga, so see this point is very important. He knew that anything auspicious produces good effects very quickly. So if we perform good things, that's why this is one of the advice given by Ravana to Hanuman. Ravana gave Hanuman advice. Yeah, because when Ravana was dying, after Rama killed Ravana, he was dying, and Hanuman, everybody was ready to go back. But then Rama told Hanuman, "Hey Hanuman, you go to Ravana now and pay your respects to him, and then listen and ask him for advice." So when Hanuman went to Ravana, Ravana was received him. Because he was killed by Ramachandra, he became purified. When the arrows pierced Ravana, Ravana became purified. It's because the lust was killed in the stomach. So then Ravana gave this advice to Hanuman. He said, "Don't become like me. I anything people gave me so many good advice, so many auspicious advice, but I always kept auspicious advice to the back door. I will never do it immediately. I will think later, later, later. They told me like, or I wouldn't do it at all. But inauspicious things I will immediately do, like kidnapping Sita, doing all kinds of naughty things. So all these inauspicious things I will immediately do. So don't be like me, do the opposite. Whatever that is auspicious, don't think. Just if you know it's good, if you know it's right, just do it. Just do it. Don't think. Do not let the devil mind to come and influence our thoughts. If it's auspicious, do it. But if it's inauspicious and we still want to do it, delay it. This is the trick, one of the tricks of controlling the mind. Give excuses, create excuses to delay. Okay, let's say I have a desire to do something inauspicious, right? So delay it, find ways to delay it, and by the grace of the Lord, it might be permanently delayed. Anyway, that was the point. So in Kali Yuga, good things produce effects immediately, but inauspicious things must actually be performed in order for the outcome to come. So that's another thing. Even if one thinks about good things in Kali Yuga, just thinking, not acting. If one even thinks good thoughts, if one even thinks positive thoughts, good thoughts, auspicious thoughts, even if one says like, "Oh, the Lord is so wonderful. I wish I could do something for him." If one thinks like that itself, you will get the benefit. That is the wonderful mercy of the Lord. Whereas inauspicious activities, they will only, if bad thoughts come in your mind, we must try to dispel it. So, because the leeway given is in Kali Yuga, even if the bad thought comes, it will not give us the reaction. The karma, the karmic reaction will not come simply for thinking. In previous yugas, even if the bad thought comes, you get karma. But in Kali Yuga, if bad thought comes, you don't get karma. You will only get karma when you act on the bad thoughts. So that is one of the advantages of Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada says, by discourse on Lord Krishna's activities, one can get rid of all disadvantages of the age of Kali. So again, more and more impetus. So he was never envious of the personality of Kali. So Maharaj Parikshit knew, right? Why you say never envious of? Why would anybody envy Kali? So it's not like, Maharaj Parikshit, it means envy. Kali means he knows that Kali Yuga must take place. And he knows that eventually, somehow or other, this will happen. So, knowing this, he wasn't envious of Kali. He knows because he was surrendered to the Lord. So, he was a realist. So, he knows that every situation that comes, there is some opportunity for me to become closer to the Lord. He will take every situation to get closer to the Lord. He will take advantage of it. So he was never envious of the Lord. He knows how to extract the essence of every situation. Maharaj Parikshit considered that less intelligent men, Baleshu, they might find the personality of Kali to be very powerful. But those who are self-controlled, Dhira, like Parikshit Maharaj, would have nothing to fear. And therefore, the king was responsible to protect the citizens against such a person like Kali. The king was powerful like a tiger, and he took care of the foolish, careless persons living in his kingdom. So, by the grace of a great personality, even those who are not so great, they can benefit. So that's why it's important to saranya, to take shelter of the slokaya, those who are worthy of being sung. So when we surrender, when we saranya to slokaya, one who's worthy, then we become protected. So that's why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita tells Tad Vidhi Praniparatena. We must find that person who is Tattva Jnaninas, who is very, very knowledgeable about spiritual matters, about bhakti, and who is acting it not only by knowledge, he is showing by example. So we must approach such a person and surrender to such a person and serve and inquire. So that is the process of devotional service. Find people like Parikshit Maharaj or Sutta Goswami or Sukadev Goswami or you know. So Prabhupada says, unless one is thoroughly intelligent, one cannot be a devotee of the Lord. But don't worry if you are not thoroughly intelligent. We may be Muddha in the beginning because in Kali Yuga we are all born Muddhas anyway. But the process of devotional service can convert even the Muddha to be the topmost devotee who is very, very intelligent. So, how he does this? Krishna says, Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Krishna says in chapter 10 Bhagavad Gita, for those who are very much engaged in this process of bhakti yoga by hearing and chanting and serving and remembering, what Krishna will do? Krishna, Krishna will give the intelligence to us. Krishna will guide our intelligence and give the knowledge and give the understanding. He says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I will give the buddhi to him. This is my reward to my devotees who are surrendered, who are trying to surrender. This is my reward. What's the reward? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. I will show them, I will give them the intelligence by which they will be guided so that they can come to me. They can come to me. So he does this in two ways. The first way is he guides you to a personality. He guides you to a guru. Right? Guru Krishna Prasade. By Krishna's mercy, we get Guru. And by Guru's mercy, we get Krishna. So that's one way. Another way is as we are purified by following the instructions of the Guru, slowly as the purification in our heart melts away, we become more sensitive to the words of the or to the guidance of Paramatma in our heart. And that's where Paramatma says, I will guide him. I will give him that intelligence for him to come to me. Right? So that is the point here. So do not fear if you are not intelligent, if you are foolish or Buddha, we are all Buddha. But this is the process to become intelligent. If you want to become wise, hear the scriptures. It's full of, there are two ways to become wise. One way is to go through experience. People like to say experience. I've got experience, experience, experience. But that's third class. And experience, is like by experience, one can develop intelligence, one can develop wisdom. But it's a very slow process and it's a very painful process. But a more intelligent person, they don't have to necessarily go through experience. Simply by hearing, they can understand and they will get the wisdom. So that is the power. It's like, one doesn't have to be experienced to get caught stealing to know that stealing is wrong, right? So one if he sees another person being stealing and he gets caught, then he knows, yeah, it's bad. I shouldn't steal. So, but if one insists, no, 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 I will also try to steal, and then I will see in my experience, then I will understand stealing is bad. So that is not very intelligent. But it's one way of getting intelligence. But the sure way of getting wisdom and intelligence is by diving into the Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by understanding, by hearing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one can become very, very wise by following the processes of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So Sutta Goswami continues his narration. O sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Vasudev in connection with the history of the pious Maharaj Parikshit. So now he's saying, okay, you've asked me so many questions, but I have now almost finished. So again, he doesn't say finish. He's trying to incite the sages to ask further and further. So that's why he gave snippets. He dropped some hints about the cursing of Maharaj Parikshit. He didn't give the full thing, but he answered whatever the sages asked already. But he answered in such a way that he enticed the sages to ask further questions. So this is the art of teaching. A good teacher will teach in such a way that he will create more and more curiosity in the student, that the student itself will be interested to ask. A bright student lah, will be interested to ask further to get more knowledge. So Prabhupada says, a devotee of the Lord regards both the activities of the Lord and those of his pure devotees on an equal level. So you may ask, hey, but he's not talking entirely about the Lord only all the time. Sometimes he's talking about Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj is not the Lord. So, but Prabhupada gives this point, a very, very important point. The devotees of the Lord himself, and the books of the Lord, the three things are given the same name. They are called Bhagavata. That's why we have Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Bhagavata also means the Supreme Lord. Bhagavata also means the devotee of the Lord. So the three are all interlinked. So to speak of the Lord means to speak of the devotees, because the Lord never, this is the sweet Lord. Our sweet Lord is such that he doesn't like to be glorified alone. He always wants to be associated with his pure devotees. So you mustn't say Krishna only, you must say Hare Krishna, because Hare is Radharani and Krishna is the Lord. So you mustn't say Krishna only, you must say Radha Krishna. You must say Yashoda Krishna. You must say, Lakshmi Narayana. So like that. So, or Prahlad Narsimha. Or, so Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. So in this way, the Lord always likes to be associated with the devotees. So the devotee, the Lord, and the books, the scriptures which fully describe the activities of the Lord and his devotees, so they are all Bhagavata. They are all in the same level. So Prabhupada says they are all in the same transcendental level. So now we have finished two parts of this chapter. So the beginning part was Maharaj Parikshit's glorification, establishing him as the Mahabhagavat, how he's very surrendered and everything. And then we heard about how Maharaj Parikshit kept Kali at bay. Oh. So then we will hear, let's see, now it is 9:15. Anyway, I will just go a little bit more. So then we can stop. So now Sutta Goswami continues. Ya yaha katha bhagavata tanyoru karmanaha guna karmasrayaha pampumbihi samsevyasta bubushubhihi. Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life, if we are interested in hearing complete perfection in life, we want to achieve complete perfection, what we must do? This verse tells us what to do. Ya yaha katha bhagavataha. We already know the meaning of katha. We already know the meaning of Bhagavata. So we know. So therefore, what we must do? We must submissively hear all the topics that are connected. Ya yaha. All the topics. We must be greedy. We mustn't be satiated. We must feel, oh, I have not heard enough. I've not heard enough. I need to read this book. Oh, Prabhupada has written so many books. I need to read all of them in my life. I need to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, going through once is not enough. I need to go through again because I didn't fully understand. Let me go through Bhagavad Gita one more time. So this is the attitude of a devotee, right? So we must want to hear more and more transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead. Katha Bhagavata, right? Who acts wonderfully. So the Lord is known as Uru Karmanaha. It's not boring. That's why the Lord says, Uru Karmanaha. My activities are not boring, la. My activities are wonderful. It's interesting. I am the original hero. Every other movie, every other story, everything else, I'm all is a copycat of whatever I've done only. So Krishna is saying, go for the original, buy original. So yes. So therefore, but there is a way to do this by submissive oral reception, Prabhupada will say. Submissive and continuous. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 1, right? That's the verse. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We must not do this once in a while. If we really serious about it, we must constantly do, constantly hear, constantly try to hear more and more. At least every day, you can hear a little bit. We are working, we have our responsibility, we are not retired, so we all wait with bated breath for the day of retirement when we can fully dive into all these things. But at the moment, we can at least give, Prabhupada says, try to give 1 hour a day. If 1 hour is too difficult, at least half an hour. If that's difficult, then at least a few minutes. At least every day, make it a constant point to read something about Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So the good sages said, okay, we won't hear the good sages, we will stop here. So this is whatever Sutta Goswami have spoken. Now the good sages will respond. So the Sutta Goswami stops at this point, and now he is waiting. He has cast his dice. He has dropped hints here and there, and he has told them, I finished speaking almost everything. So now we will hear what an enthusiastic audience would want to know more. If the audience is enthusiastic and they are serious, they won't say, okay, thank you very much, time's up, let's go. So they will want to hear more and more. So that is the point. But we will stop here for the sake of time. Any questions? Before that, let us give all glories to Srila Prabhupada for the wonderful, wonderful purports, and for the acharyas who carefully gave all the purports from parampara to parampara, coming down in such a way that we, the dull-minded people like myself, I can understand and present all these things very nicely, hopefully. So all glories to Guru Parampara, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let us chant Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So right now we open for questions or anything that you'd like to ask, clarify. Feel free to bring up any point. So we are happy to talk about it. So I'm looking at the chat. I see Ramanaidu Prabhu. He has put a question there. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, I'll just put it here. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.18.4, the word membranes, meaning a skin-like tissue that connects, covers, or lines parts of the body. What is the scientific word related to this sentence? Okay, let's look at verse 4. Yeah, I remember that word. Chapter Going back. Aha. So this is verse 4. This was so because those who have dedicated, Prabhupada's purport. This is Prabhupada's purport. By scientific adaptation, one is able to remember the Lord even at the end of life, when the power of remembrance is slackened due to the derangement of bodily membranes. So basically, what he means is our body becomes haywire at the time of death. Everything that's supposed to work properly in our body goes wonky. It works differently. Ayurveda describes at the time of death, it says our body, it's basically, Bhagavad Gita says the gross material body is made out of earth, fire, water, air, ether, right? These are the five elements which makes the gross body. So but they further interact. Water and fire interacts together to form pitta. Pitta is bile. And earth and water interacts together to form kapha. Kapha means phlegm, mucus. And uh, air and ether combine together to form vata. Vata is basically sometimes we say air, but air is not correct because it's combined with ether. So this kapha, pitta, and vata, they basically these are the three things which causes our body to uh, act in a healthy manner or sometimes become sick. Too much of pitta, then we always, we feel burning sensation, we feel thirsty. It can cause certain disease like, jaundice and all that. Too much of vata, then insomnia, cannot sleep properly, nervous problem, nerve problems, And if we too much of kapha, then we get mucus, phlegm, uh, heavy weight, so laziness, sedentary motion, so things like that. So that is when these things are imbalanced, it can cause disease. Now, this is at the time of death. At the time of death, they completely go imbalanced in our. It causes the prana to go into like a vortex. So it affects our body. It also affects our mind. So it's not easy to think at the time of death. That's the point. So, but still, by the grace of the Lord, right? If we have done our sadhana, if we have acted, if we have followed the scriptures, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, we have dedicated our lives, by the grace of the Lord, He will overcome all these difficulties and He will force Himself into our mind so that we can remember Him at the time of death. So that's the understanding. Okay, Ramanaidu Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu, clear. Thank you, Prabhu. One more question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Regarding this Brahmastra weapon, in Asutama used the Brahmastra weapon against Parikshit. Is that the same weapon Ravana's son Indraji used against Hanuman to arrest him to take him to the court?
Yeah, I think so. That's why Hanuman respected the Brahmastra. That's why Hanuman allowed himself to be. Actually, he could overcome it by the power of the Lord. He was very powerful. But out of respect for that Brahmastra, for Lord Brahma, so Brahma Astra means the weapon of Lord Brahma. Right? So out of respect, this is a devotee. A devotee always respects his seniors. So in that way, out of respect, so he decided to allow the Brahmastra to do his job. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, I think you're right.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so we have another question from Ravinder Prabhu. When we have undesirable thoughts but don't put them into action and so avoid effects, how can we still avoid those thoughts and avoid succumbing to negative actions and temptations to do bad to others who have done bad to us? Yeah, so that's the thing. This is how karma works. Karma, due to our previous activities, our previous life bad activities, we are born with certain seeds. These seeds of desire are born with us. It sometimes it lays dormant in our lives, and at one point of time it may become a little less dormant. So it may surface. These seeds may surface in our hearts. So where do these inauspicious desires come from? They come from our experiences in our previous lives. Or even in this life also, previous experiences in this life itself can create such seeds of desire in our heart. So karma comes in four ways. It comes in kuttam form, bijam form, uh, aprarabdha and prarabdha. So yeah, kutam, bijam. Yeah, these are the four. Kutam means it's just an inclination. It's just an inclination. It hasn't really formed the seed yet. But with how does the seed form then? It forms by our experiences. So due to our bad activities or bad karma, we may have a certain birth where there is a certain inclination for a certain thing. But when we come into the association, when we come into certain association, then the inclination it manifests in the form of a seed. It becomes seeds of desires. They are planted into our minds. And when the association is continued in this way, when the bad association is continued in this way, so then the seeds become watered. We start watering the seeds in our mind. So we start thinking about it in such associations, or in we start thinking in our mind. And as we think, as we contemplate upon these desires, then it's like watering the seeds. And they start to flower, they become flower. So that means it's already in a bad situation. You're about to do something. You really want to do something about it, but it's still not done. Then until you start doing it, then it's called fructified. So the karma has already fructified. You are now performing such a bad activity. So how to avoid this? So the key is to two ways to do it. One is to keep ourselves in good association. So what is good association? Good association means avoid. That's why Rupa Goswami tells us in the Nectar of Instruction. He tells us if we are serious about spiritual life, six things we must do and six things we must avoid. And amongst the six things which we must avoid, one of it is asat sanga tyaga. We must give up bad association. And one of the six things we should do is we must seek out and surround ourselves with good association. So sadhu sanga. So that is why Prabhupada created the Society of Krishna Consciousness. So like-minded people can come together, so we can at least go somewhere where we may find the same type of association. So that's one thing. Keep ourselves in good association. So in such an association, even if we want to do something bad also, there might be impediments to doing it, right? So that's one of the things a good society will do. If there is a good society, even if somebody wants to do something sinful, because the pressure, this is called peer pressure. The peer pressure of a good society will stop somebody from doing bad things. Now it's the opposite, right? We have peer pressure to do bad things. And therefore, we end up doing bad things. People tend to speak bad language because peer pressure. Everybody is using bad words, so I also have to use bad words to look cool, right? Or everybody is smoking, so I also should smoke. Everybody is drinking, I should drink. Everybody is eating meat. Everybody is going to restaurants. Everybody is having a hedonistic life, so I also should do that. So that's peer pressure. So to reverse in Kali Yuga is different. So that's one thing. Association. Association not only means real living people, it also means associating with Krishna's words, with associating with the words of the Acharya. So to associate with his instructions. So we should try to read Prabhupada's books. Associating with Prabhupada's books is the same as associating with a pure devotee. Very powerful, and it helps us to overcome these baser tendencies. So that's one thing which we can do to avoid this. Second thing is to follow the instruction Ravana gives. So Ravana says, don't think about it. When bad thought comes, negative inclination comes, do something to just avert the mind. Make yourselves busy, you know make yourselves busy, or just immediately tell yourself, okay, this thought is bad, let me not think about it. Let's do something else, right? Or let's think about other things. or keep ourselves busy at least. So that is another strategy. So with these two strategies, and it will become easier to do if we chant, because that's the main purpose of our hearing and our chanting. Cheto darpana marjanam. It is to clean the mirror of our heart. It's to clean our consciousness. So by chanting, by following sadhana, by following this kind of prescribed activities, then it's a very powerful cleaning effect, right? So that's the idea. Prabhu, I hope that answers, hopefully, as far as
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Haribu. Anything else? Anyone? No? Okay. So otherwise, feel free to put your questions again. Send it to me or put it in the WhatsApp chat. Or we can ask in the next session also. Happy to answer anything. So thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much for your time. Haribu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
Hare
you, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.